name is Kendra Muller-Taylor. I love to make other people happy, have fun adventures, love playing sports. One thing I'm most passionate about is disability rights. I think it's really important for us to acknowledge disability and realize all the contributions that they can bring to society. So, life before my injury, I was only 14, an avid runner and soccer player. So, both two things that are heavily influenced, like with your legs. I didn't get paralyzed doing anything crazy, which is weird because I loved, diving off cliffs and doing kind of reckless activities. But I actually was at a friend's house. I was on a hammock, and part of the house collapsed on me. We learned later on that the building was not built correctly. The wood had rotted on the inside of brick. My injury was 8 years ago. So I spent about 3.5 months in the hospital. In the hospital, everybody wanted to be like, okay, well, maybe, you'll walk again. All my friends were, cheering me on. And after, those 3 months, I made so much progress. I'm alive. But I didn't start walking, per se. And that's really what able-bodied people think the progress is. Coming back to the same house that I was in, that I used to run down the stairs and, do all these crazy things, and I can't get around in my own home because it was actually a split level. It was a shock. This is your life now. You are in a wheelchair. I had a lot of depression at first, and I think for me it was hard to adjust to my own body. It was like being reborn. All my friends had 14 years of being in the same body. And I was starting from day one, and I was like, oh my God, I have 14 years to catch up here. I was a freshman when I got paralyzed, so I had to go back to high school. So I still did student government, and I did sports. There were no sports, obviously, that I could do at my high school, but I decided to get involved in wheelchair rugby and paragliding and kayaking and biking, and I actually had tried more sports now after the injury than before. It was just the slow process of me coming to accept myself, especially being a woman, having a spinal cord injury, also being a teenager. You have this coming of age as well. Without a spinal cord injury, there wasn't a lot of female spinal cord injuries out there, very few. The statistics are 80-20, so my spinal cord is completely severed. So there's not a good chance of anything coming back, but I definitely was okay, I can get stronger and get independent again. It took me 7 years to figure everything out. But now I've figured everything out. Transferring was really difficult for me because even though I am C6, as a woman, my upper arm strength just wasn't there as much as the men that I saw with C6. And so I saw them transferring everywhere, and I was oh, why can't I do that? But yeah, I finally learned how to transfer. I got all my independence up to college except for the dreaded bowel care. Could not figure that one out. So I finally figured that out a couple years later down the road. I have actually gotten some surgeries. I got a bicep to tricep transfer, so this arm is great. I can wave it all around. It's great. And I only did that to one of my hands or one of my arms, so I could have one tricep and one really strong bicep. And there you go. That's how I figured it out. I was a smart person in high school before my accident. Everybody was yeah, Kendra's going to college. And then right after my accident, there's just the stigma that I wouldn't go to college anymore. People were very surprised that I went to college and that I went to a really good college in Utah. People were also really surprised when I got married. Because people in wheelchairs don't get married, There's all these stereotypes that I feel that other individuals would see me breaking and be oh yeah, that's her greatest accomplishment. But it's not really my greatest accomplishment. It's just me doing what I want to do. Right now I'm a senior in college. I am graduating in a month, and I'm graduating in neuropsychology. I love learning more about the spinal cord. So I thought I wanted to go to med school with that, but now after I graduate, I'm going to go to law school. Some things I would like to do as a lawyer in disability rights would be first, internationally. A lot of people are still living in the dark ages if they have a disability in other countries, and I really want to help other people with disabilities get on their feet. I had Medicaid beforehand, and yeah, I lost it when I got married. People are being discriminated against just because you want to get married to love of your life now. Like, you don't get catheters? What? Like, that's insane. The advice that I would offer to you is to give yourself some time to grieve over your old body, but also to push yourself to be innovative and creative in how you approach life and how you become independent. Know that you're not alone, like in feeling inadequate at times because you have a spinal cord injury. Because we've all grown up that way to feel like disability is this awful thing. Just because you're walking around doesn't mean like you have a good life. And just because you're rolling around doesn't mean you have a good life either. I could be paralyzed and I could be mad about it and sad about it, or I could be paralyzed and be happy. That was an easy choice for me to be like, okay, like I am going to try and live my best life also being in a wheelchair. I definitely feel like the spinal cord injury has helped me. I am grateful for it, and really the physicality of the spinal cord injury is not the problem at all. You can get past that and you can figure out that, and there's no shame in like if you're a high injury and you need like AIDS or something, like there's no shames for you to like have AIDS and go out and live your life or whatever, but also like you can be independent. But it's really like the social aspect of it is difficult. Like people will look down on you and people will think you are less than. You got to realize like who you are as a person shouldn't be based on if you can walk or not. It's really strange. Like it's just like such a strange concept to be now. But that's just because like I've worked through it.